Now it's time for critical thinking. And what do you have for us?
Well, I'm going to talk about hypotheses testing and how to think like a scientist. So when
Doctor.
when we do research, we think of things in statistical terms using hypotheses, and then we find statistics and test them. But the thinking applies to everyone. So let's do an example. A hypothesis is a version of the world that may or may not be true. So let's do a hypothesis. We're going to call it our null hypothesis, that all swans are white. Have you ever heard of a black swan?
Well, just because I've been around you.
That's right. So in economics terms, there was a book called The Black Swan, and so it means an unusual economic event. So all of the economic events we normally see are white swans, and then if we ever saw a black swan, it'd be like, oh, unbelievable. So like our recent financial crisis was one of those black swan events. It was so unstatistically improbable that people don't really see them. So the alternative hypothesis is that all swans are not white. So our main null hypothesis is all swans are white, all economic events will come within this parameter. And then our alternative is there will be some economic events, black swans, that come out of this parameter that are unusual.
Okay.
So now as we look at things like that, we go, well, we don't know how many white swans there are and how many black swans there are, so we start to gather evidence. And we do statistical analysis on it, and the statistical analysis always has errors in it. So we're always concerned with either a type 1 or a type 2 error. So it's getting kind of complicated, so let me draw you a chart. If the hypothesis all swans are white is true, we have a column here, and then if it's false, we have a column here. So it's true or false. We know that it's one or the other. It's either true or false. So the other column is, do we accept it or do we reject it? If it's true and we accept it, if it's true that all swans are white and we accept that hypothesis, we do our statistical test and say that's true, we're good. That's good. We're fine, right? It's true, and we think it's true.
I think it's fine.
Right. But well, let me finish. So if we think that there are black swans, and we do our statistical analysis and say that there are black swans, and it's false, and we reject this hypothesis that all swans are true, or well, all swans are white, is true, then we're also good. So if it's true and we accept it, or if it's false and we reject it, we're all good.
Okay.
We've done it correctly. But we don't always make the right choice. We don't always have statistical evidence that's inconclusive or conclusive. So if it's true and we reject it, we call that a type 1 error. If it's true and we reject it. So in this case is, if it's true that all swans are white, and we say, I don't believe you, I'm going to go on the hypothesis, the alternative hypothesis, that not all swans are white. But we're wrong, because they all are white. So that's a type 1 error. Type 2 error, so in other words, that's a false positive. In other words, we think you have a disease, but you don't have a disease.
Yes.
So the other error is a type 2 error, and that is all swans are white. We believe that, but it's not true. So here's the thing. If we believe that all economic events will come within this parameter, and there are economic events outside that parameter, and we've bet our money that we won't lose more than this, but there are things that happen.
Yeah, it couldn't happen.
But it couldn't happen. It couldn't happen at all. So we think about this in the real estate crisis. How many people made a type 2 error?
A lot.
That's right.
A lot.
They had a hypothesis that real estate prices will never go down below this.
It can't go down more than 10%.
That's right.
Never seen it happen.
Never seen it happen. Doesn't happen. Black swan event. And they had they had a type 2 error. They believed something to be true that was false. And that's a huge mistake in finance. And if you talk to any of the financial academics, they will say, oh no, I don't like type 2 errors. Type 2 errors is saying, I believe this to be true, and it's not. I believe the stock can't go down, it did. I believe the economy will never go down, and it did. And so the error here that you don't want to make is believing things that are true when they're not true. And although a type 1 error isn't a good thing, we're actually believing that there are black swans when there aren't, It's not nearly as bad as
At least you've prepared for the
You've
possibility that
prepared.
there could be a black swan.
right. So which error do you want? Let's put this into financial terms. Do you want to believe that economic events could be disastrous beyond the realm of a white swan event and be wrong that everything's okay? Or do you want to believe the other way around and say, that there never's going to be an event that's outside the norm, and I've already bet all my money, and then find out there is one and lose?
And then you have no money.
Then you have no money, exactly.
Or retirement.
Or retirement or a house or
things.
whatever, right. So the big error, the way scientists think, is the type 2 or beta error, and the way you should be thinking is the same thing. What do you believe to be true that's actually false? That's where you get into most trouble. So
And what's your takeaway?
the takeaway is here, the type 2 error means accepting something to be true when it's not. That's the error scientists work very hard to reduce or eliminate. You should too.